All right, guys, what's up? What's up? So, I actually was accurate that I did see a group online. It was virtual, March 1st, night 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. There's this group called IQRA, and they have a Facebook group, and I think they posted their group on Meetup, and I saw the Zoom link on there, and there's a Facebook group too, and I was able to just easily join the group and get into the group. I did audio record, but because of privacy reasons, because they say you can't really, um, out of respect, the group rules say, um, that, respecting other people's privacy, um, that's part of it. And so I don't think I can really post that. I wouldn't be too comfortable to post that because I don't want to go against the group rules. And I'm definitely a believer in, confidentiality and things like that. If people specifically state that they, want a kind of private environment, I'm not going to go and blast it all over the internet. But I did think it was pretty cool. Um, they seem to be inclusive, so that was cool. And they seem to be um, yeah, they just seem to be inclusive and like multicultural. Now it's not like a set in stone, I don't know, it's not really something that I really am familiar with. Like, I don't really know if I'm gonna keep joining, but as something to do during Ramadan, it was interesting to hear different people speak about their experiences. I learned a lot already, so the part that they read was the same thing, pretty much the same thing I read online, from that one passage, where part of it talked about Ramadan, but it was from 180 to 189 instead of the ones that I read, which was some of that, but not the whole 9 verses. And it seems like they're gonna do this every Saturday morning, so I'm gonna see if I tune in. I guess if I talk about what I liked that there were different people, like from different cultures, feminists, LGBT, different age ranges, different socioeconomic, different immigration status, different experiences with religions that people are practicing or raised in, or different career paths. And I like that it was, you know, not fighting. Like, people didn't maybe fully agree. Like, people could express if they disagreed. Um, but they didn't really say, oh, I disagree, and putting people down. Like, it was very respectful, I felt. So that's what I liked. I felt like I came out of it feeling better than when I went into it. And that's one thing that kind of worries me about religious spaces, is that, as a person who is diverse and of a variety of minority groups, it's kind of hard to just be like, okay, like, I want to go to this space that isn't even like something familiar to me. Like it's not like it's a religion I was raised in. But like I said before, I've enjoyed, in the past where I've been in multicultural environments. I feel like that's kind of my favorite place to be, is when everybody's kind of coming from different walks in different spaces. You kind of have to show respect, and you don't really get in a group where, say for example, and I'm not saying this happens, but say this would happen, but say for example, if I was with all black friends, all black and African American friends, invited them over to watch a show that was comedy, but it was like comedy where, a lot of times there is this kind of double standard where it's like, if you were to watch like white comedy, especially like a sitcom kind of thing, and they were like on national TV, like making fun of black people, somebody would probably be like, that's maybe like, maybe they need to kind of dial that back. But a, if you're a, a a show that has a black cast and they're making fun of white people, usually people are just going to laugh at it or just not really say anything. There is that kind of double standard. And I mean, I'm not really speaking specifically to that, but it's like, if I was in a group of black friends, being a black person, I could watch a show like that with them and probably nobody would question it. Or even if I brought it up and I was like, hey, how do you guys feel about this? Because like, I have white friends, we all have white friends, like we can maybe watch this together. But if we were to invite other certain people, would that be comfortable? Or like, let's have a discussion about that. People might be a little more likely to say things that they wouldn't say in a room where there were other people who weren't black or people who were white in that group. So that's just an example of like kind of how things look like, when sometimes if you're all all pretty similar on a lot of levels, there is a lot of stuff where it's like, well, nobody might really challenge that, or the opposite can happen where it's like, and a lot of things in between. But the other end of that spectrum would be, oh yeah, like I can relate that there's all these experiences that they're talking about in this black show that are comedic, and they're talking about some of their experiences with white people, and maybe in that space, black people, if they were all black people, they might have had similar experiences or might be more comfortable sharing about those experiences. So I'm not necessarily saying that being in a multicultural environment with a whole lot of diversity is always better. Um, but you know, you can be like in a homogenous environment where it can have its advantages and disadvantages, and then a very diverse environment where there are, also advantages and disadvantages, um, to those environments, to being in those environments. Like the way you can think about things, the way you can talk about things. Sometimes it's like, well, in some groups you might have not have to worry about who you're offending because you're just expressing yourself, and a lot of people might relate. And then in other groups, it's like people might not really relate to you. So I do kind of like having a variety. I don't think I would really be okay with only a very homogenized group of people who are from the same neighborhood, the same race, the same background, the same, you know, belief systems, and all that background is exactly the same all the time. I would definitely need a lot more variety on it, at least on occasion. And then, but sometimes it's like I wish that I had more of people that I knew that kind of like had familiar experiences, and people looked at them the same as they look at me when we walk into spaces. And it's like, oh, I know what that look is because you see me in this certain way. Maybe if it's not even race, but it could be something else, that they see you and it's like, oh, you're a woman, and so they treat you like a certain way or whatever. And other women would probably have those experiences, or other people that have the same categories that I have would probably have those experiences. And then the other people who are completely different from me might not have those experiences. And so I value stuff like that, you know. I value thinking about it and having experiences with it, but I'm definitely, you know, interested in, you know, just trying to understand more about different things. It was a good experience. It was fun to, you know, be in an environment that was kind of on a topic that I'm interested in, and it was live, and there were real people in there. And I did like how they touched on certain subjects where I was like, oh, this is the same stuff. There's a lot of overlap with Christianity and like strict cultures and religions, where people are like, okay, maybe if you're LGBT, it might be difficult for you for whatever reasons, or maybe if you're another way, you know, it might be difficult for you, you know, or there might be judgment. Like I talked about before last year, how, you know, trying to even learn about fasting or practicing any part of the rituals of it, it was kind of complicated because of the health things going on. And then, you know, there were people that kind of seemed like they could relate to that. But I would also think that if you're in a group, in a community, you might feel pressured to maybe not share if you're not able to fast. Maybe not everybody wants to share that openly during a month of fasting because other people might judge them or something and be like, oh, like you're not really doing it, you're not really good at it, or you're not really doing it because, you know, even if you do have health problems, they might be judgmental about it or something, which I don't know if they are or not. I'm curious to know if that is something that comes up, but I would guess that maybe it does. But you know, there were people kind of like mentioning certain things that I was wondering about some of this nuanced stuff, because I try not to really like romanticize different religions where it's like, of course, on the surface everything looks like perfect and nice and fun, but there's always, you know, from the insiders' perspectives, when they actually have their real life experiences, they're the ones who can speak to it and say more about like what it's actually like to be a part of a community like that, and what they've witnessed firsthand, what they've experienced firsthand, what they've witnessed, you know, happening to other people that they know, and they can kind of talk about it in more detail. And I'm not trying to just be like, oh, I want to hear all the dirt, but I get like some stuff you wouldn't know just by like reading it reading the Quran, and just in a vacuum, just kind of like studying random stuff, informational stuff off the internet. You're not really going to get a feel for what it's actually like for like real human beings in a religion, and in a different groups of human beings within a religion, and what their experiences are like. You're not really going to hear a lot about that. But I gotta go do something right now. I'll talk some more about this. So that was an interesting experience, maybe harder than what I had anticipated. So I was able to get up early to cook, but I started eating after the fast should have started. Is about the time my food was done cooking and I was ready to eat. And then I had to eat lunch. I don't know if it was blood sugar or what, but I was just like, I need to eat lunch on time. I just wasn't in a good mood if I didn't. And I did have a snack around 11. I was like, okay, I might need to keep my meals the same, but I was trying to go past my 4 p.m. dinner time and have a dinner that was after the sundown, which was 5:50 p.m. my time. I ended up cooking and eating earlier, And when I finished eating, it was like maybe 5-6 minutes till the fast was about to end for the day. But I would say, other than logging into that chat, the virtual chat, I think I was just kind of made aware of like where I prefer to kind of spend my energy. And it is not on reading scriptures or things like that, or listening to sermons, or, I really don't know what to do as far as fasting related stuff. I probably need to study it more. I mean, I spent most of the day pretty much by myself with limited interactions, and I still was like, I can tell I should not be interacting with people because I'm moody. I was kind of having like mood swings a little bit. But I also didn't eat a healthy lunch at all, or a healthy dinner. So, and I didn't really go to the gym or anything. So, and I think I didn't really sleep that much. Like, I probably could have slept a little more or napped. I maybe napped for like 5 minutes, but it was definitely a low stimulation day, and everything in me was like not wanting it to be such a low stimulation day. I was just like, this is too slow for me. Like, I was definitely in my head a lot about a lot of things I'd rather be doing, things that I hadn't even planned to do, but all the things I would rather be doing, because I was just sitting with it, just like, well, I definitely know that there are some imbalances in my life that I'm like definitely not paying much attention to, that I'm probably drowning out with just like everything else, because it's like, okay, I can just do this other thing, get distracted, it's fun, then end the day, all right, go to bed. So if I'm not busy working, I can spend my time being entertained. But if I'm not being entertained, and I'm not saying I was just trying to sit there and like zone out, I was just trying not to do the type of stuff that I normally do. And even if it was just like a typical Sabbath day, because that's something that I might do on like a typical Sabbath day, even with it just being like a typical Sabbath practice routine, it was, well, minus the food times and the Quran lesson thing, minus those types of things. Otherwise it would have just been, adjusting the social media, reading more. But it was difficult. I didn't really do too well with it. Just emotionally, it just was not pleasant. I mean, it was to a certain point, but sometime in the afternoon, like maybe around noon or so, or after that meeting, after the chat ended, and after I talked about it a little bit, when I said I had to go do something, basically I was like, I need to go make lunch. But basically from that point, it was a little bit of a rough ride. And I can see if I can speak more on that, just maybe not at this very second. Alright guys, continuing. So, in case I wasn't able to attach this information at the beginning of this episode, pretty much I'm going to be talking about the beginning days of Ramadan, which what for 2025. I mean, I've already talked about my first day's experience up to this point, but the first days, like starting Friday night, February 28th of 2025, and then Saturday, which was March 1st of 2025, and then Sunday, which was March 2nd of 2025. Today is Monday, March 3rd of 2025, early morning, and I'm recording about my experiences up until this point, just to note that things have gotten better and have definitely improved. So, I definitely want to talk about that. And so I want to talk about that. I want to talk about a conversation that I was having with someone about what the difficulties were and kind of some insights I got into some um, supplements types of things, like talking about like health and sodium and sleep and hormones and things like that, and work. I want to talk about some dreams experiences, Saturday's dreams, Sunday's dreams, a little bit of, not a lot, about conversations about the Bible, the Apocrypha, the Quran, and finances and things like that, and then experiences with the gym and time management. Um, so those are the major topics. Now, if I go from how things were Friday compared to how they are now on Monday morning, it's like night and day, guys. Like, from Saturday afternoon, things started feeling really strange. Friday night, I was already kind of like not feeling my absolute best, but it helped me to get out of the house and start recording and kind of like developing this project. Because Friday daytime, I was kind of already talking about kind of what I wanted to be doing this week, but I wasn't like super aware that it was even Ramadan. So just the fact that it started on Friday night after having that conversation Friday afternoon kind of really helped, because I'm like, well, I can kind of develop a project out of this, because I'm supposed to be working on like improving my schedule, but I'm not really at a place where I really want to do that. I was kind of like, I'll do it, but it's like I don't really want to. That was kind of my attitude on like Friday afternoon, and I was kind of like, well, I'm gonna need to do it anyways. Like, if I'm trying to get to some of the places I'm trying to get in life, there's some stuff that I'm totally avoiding and not doing that I need to do, that, some things just aren't going to happen if I don't do those steps, and I've been avoiding them. I've been in the whole like seeking pleasure, avoiding pain kind of mindset for a while now. So let me see if I can pull up. I don't know if I want to pull up this whole conversation, but I'm going to see if I can look at some of it. So basically, I was saying, this was on March 1st. I was talking to somebody. I'm just going to say the stuff that I was saying, because I was kind of like reflecting on some things and like trying to figure out like why weren't things going that good. So this was, I don't know, does it say the time? I don't know. But it was, I guess, Saturday night, technically, just saying that, like, it was hard, with an experience that was supposed to be with fasting. And I noticed that in the afternoon, things got pretty difficult. I was having mood swings, going through a lot of emotions. And I really was thinking it was because I was having like such a low stimulation day, because it was not only the first day of Ramadan, and then, during the daylight times, trying to like, fast or not eat, because I ate breakfast super early that day, which was still like I mentioned, I didn't meet the actual times of like before the sun was actually coming out, but it was still way like hours earlier than normal. Like, I was cooking at the time that I was supposed to be, like, I just started eating at the time that the fast should have started, So I started the fast late, and I wasn't sure if I was gonna really fast throughout the whole day. But I know nothing. I'm realizing. I think by Saturday, I kind of realized I really don't know anything about nutritional balance. Like I know, general food groups you need to eat, generally what my calories need to look like. I know I'm supposed to be increasing iron intake and, definitely staying away from like a lot of high sugars, high fats, things like that. Um, but I was kind of realizing that I was going through a lot of emotions and I couldn't really figure it out. My understanding of it on Saturday was that these emotions were related to low stimulation. Because usually, like Sabbath time for me, and this fell during Sabbath time for me, but Sabbath time for me tends to be a pretty low stimulation, 24 hours or so. I know Jewish Sabbath, I guess, is technically 25 hours, but for me, it's like 24 hours. Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. Now, not always. I'll go out and party. I'll go out to clubs. I'll go out and do stuff. Just depends what I have planned or not. If I don't have any plans, sometimes I try to have some kind of discipline around like decreasing kind of like the regular stimulation of the week. So things that have to do with work or studying anything that's like not like cultural or religious or some kind of ancient kind of texts and stuff. Even if it's not like Bible, it like I like to just like learn about history and like a whole lot of stuff that I'm very interested in. Even if it's like conspiracy theories, I'd rather focus on that than going watching TV or you know I don't know like doom scrolling online and that kind of stuff. So um, the group that I popped into was pretty cool because I was like, well, this is kind of my vibe. Like, so I got 2 hours of that. But then during that group, I was kind of like, I don't really know if I really want to completely fast. You know, I might just eat. I was like, okay, well, I ate early. Let me just keep my snack and my lunch at like a regular time and then eat late, like later than my 4 p.m., 4:30 p.m. dinner. Let me eat dinner late. And I'll talk more about what I ate. Um, but basically, I got some insight into things like sodium levels, and I'm going to talk about that too after I finish kind of going through this. So basically, um, I was basically thinking all the emotional stuff, the mood swings, was due to having such a low stimulation day and throwing my meal times off. And I was just like, wow, am I really that sensitive to this? Like it just didn't add up, but that was my understanding by Saturday night. I was like, that's probably what it is. Um um I was like, the low stimulation, it made it hard for me to get out of my head and I was feeling more freedom once the sun went down because I was like, okay, it's sundown Saturday night. I can kind of get back to my normal life, without like avoiding different things online or whatever. Um, and I thought that the low stimulation day was related to kind of my choices, like I was explaining that the low stimulation day was related to my choices with the Sabbath and the fasting, and I did feel like I was able to kind of think deeper into some things, but those were things that I was kind of ignoring at the same time. Like I said, like Friday, I was kind of in this challenge of like, I really need to kind of step it up with some of the stuff I need to do, which I did not want to step it up and do those things. Um, but I was trying to like explore those things. Um, there were themes coming up around like community and different stuff. I want to be able to easily do, like as far as like going out and doing that I'm not doing because I'm trying not to have extra expenses, but either doing different things by myself or with other people, or um, things I want to do, but then there's also obligations that I have that I'm kind of like, not really managing easily. And I guess one thing that I hadn't noticed was the I find it important to challenge myself, which is why I like to take on tasks that are hard. But Saturday night, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I was already like, I don't want to do this, you know? Like, I was like, I was literally like, when I started recording the beginning of this episode, I was literally in the mindset, like, I don't want to do this. Like, I literally didn't want to do this. I was like, I don't want to do this at all. Um, you know, we're barely like, Saturday sundown is like barely starting day two of this fasting period for 30 days, and I'm like, I don't even want to do this. I'm already over it. I don't want to do it. It's exhausting. I'm like, I can't keep up this level of mood swings and like being all like emotional and having all these problems for 30 days. I'm like, 24 hours was plenty. I was like, I don't think I need 30 days of this. That's too much. 30 days back to back, mind you. But then again, it's like the interesting thing about fasting, at least this style of fasting, is that it's technically not all day long. Like the eating part isn't all day long. It's just during the daylight hours, and those times shift. So it's like the day is starting earlier, and then the night is going later. So it's like, oh no, wait, did I say that backwards? The daylight is coming later, and the night is coming in later. And so everything's kind of already shifting, even like a little bit, like a minute here or there, a couple minutes, 1 or 2 minutes or so every day or so. Um, um, but I was thinking, I was like, I can tell that I'm pushing myself faster than where I naturally am. Like I was mentally and emotionally not at a point to really be taking any kind of action. I'm more so at the point of just like thinking about it, but I was like, I want to be on point with the timeline. I don't want to wait like a week or whatever. I want to start day one when day one starts, and then day two when day two is going to be, and all that. And I was like, it's just day one of 30. And I was like, oh man, like that was just kind of like a lot. Um, but I was pretty hopeful that I was going to adjust to things, and I was giving myself some space to be flexible instead of being like super rigid. Now, I've mentioned before, I'm not Muslim. I'm not doing this like a traditional Muslim way. I'm learning about it. I'm probably going to take the time on those Saturday mornings, if I can remember by this Saturday, to keep logging into those Saturday morning meetings and try to learn from the people that are actually familiar with doing this. Like a lot of people in that group kind of know about it, and but it is kind of like you know a group where it's like, it's expected to keep the privacy and confidentiality of the people in the group, which I respect that. So even though I did record it, I'm gonna just keep the recording to myself. But just I'll reference generally, there are some people that it was their first time. I guess some people, I think they're called reverts. I don't know what a revert is, if that's the same thing as a convert, or someone who was maybe born into a Muslim family and then, you know, came back into the practices or the traditions and rituals, or if a revert is someone who was a different religion or a different faith and decided that they're gonna be Muslim. Um, but just the flexibility. instead of not quitting, just trying to have some kind of flexibility around things. But I was pretty surprised because even though I wasn't being very restrictive, I was still struggling, and I was like, I did not expect that struggle. So let me kind of let you guys know kind of what I think I found some insight into. So when it comes to like things like sodium and hormones and health and stuff like that, I was kind of able to catch up with some friends, and this wasn't like an expected catch up. Like we weren't like planning to talk, but it just, some of this is with friends and some of it's just on my own. Like I have this UC Irvine alumni magazine that I get, and I think it was Friday or Thursday. I had just, I keep it in the bathroom. I keep them in the bathroom because it's just, reading material. Right now, I'm reading this Federal Reserve book. Usually, I keep like a manga book in the bathroom, but the manga wasn't really interesting, and the Federal Reserve book is like way less interesting. And it's kind of like, how some people take their phones in the bathroom and stuff. Like, I was kind of like, let's take it back old school and like take it back to like books and newspapers and stuff, but not something that I'm really going to be reading like on my day to day. Now, I do want to read the Federal Reserve book. It's a library book, and I didn't really want to keep it in the bathroom. But before I had decided on switching up to a manga, I kind of put that in. I was like, that's in there, and then I was reading Blue Lock in there before. I have the first two manga books, and I was like, let me just take those out of there, and then I put in this other book. What was the book? Yeah, I put in. I think the manga in there is called Dawn of Arcana, not Arcana, but Dawn of Arcana, and it's weird. It's really weird. I don't know how many of them I have of this series. I don't know if it's the only one. I felt like I had more. I don't know where they are, but I put it in there because I was like, might as well have some reading material. But sometimes I like something with some depth, and so I keep this alumni magazine kind of on the counter next to the sink, and I kind of use it like we don't have like a toilet paper roll, like a thing to like spin the toilet paper, so I just use it so that the toilet paper is not like on the counter. I just put it like so it's on the magazine, and then whenever I get a new one every month, or I think it's every month they send them, I just like toss the old one and like put the new one out. And I almost never read these things, but I just happened to open it, and I was like, let me see what the table of contents says. And most of it was just like random stuff about the university, but there was one page that was like a health and wellness article. It's probably going to be too blurry on my phone to read it here, but it basically started talking about there were these two UC Irvine, um, one lady is named Susan Samueli of Integrative Health Institute, and then there was Jacqueline Leong, which I think it says Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine. It's really blurry because it's an old. It's blurry because my phone doesn't have a lot of space, and the Wi-Fi is not great right now. But basically, it was saying that according to Leong, the typical American should get between 1,500 and 2,300 milligrams of salt daily. And I was like, okay. I didn't know that. I don't think I knew that. I don't think I knew like a number. But I've, since about November of 2020, no, about December of 2023, I started that group for people who are trying to, I didn't start it, but I started in that group of people who are adjusting their A1C levels. And it was maybe like summer of that year that I had gotten on the wait list, because that was about the time where I started working on a lot of health related things. So about summer of that year, I got on the wait list, um, and it was like I had asked for like a dietitian or a nutritionist, because I was like, I'm really interested in learning about like health and diet. So basically, since that time up until even now, I've been tracking my health as far as like activity levels, which is minimum supposed to be 150 minutes a week, and then so tracking the activity levels and tracking my weight. And they gave us this app called Habit New, and basically I've been tracking this. If I count all the weeks, um, we're on week 15 past the other week. I think if we say there's about 52 weeks in a year, let's say we were just shy of that. I think the group was like 50 weeks, or like it was just under a year. It wasn't quite a whole year. And there were some weeks that we took off, but like we ended in November of 2024, like right before Thanksgiving, and like November 20 something, we ended that was the last lesson of the group, the final day. And then so basically I'd been tracking what I was doing, and I found out what was working for me and what wasn't. I'd say the time periods where I had the most weight loss were the times when I was going to like raves or clubs and dancing and doing like basically a lot of cardio, because like music festivals and that kind of stuff, you're walking around, you're moving around, you're up for like hours. And if it's like 2 days, you're kind of moving around a lot. And a lot of the things that I go to, depending who I'm with, I'm not really drinking that much or whatever, or eating or overeating too much. So it's like the calories are definitely evening out. And then if I know I'm going to go to something like that, ideally I would be exercising beforehand, to make sure that I'm not just like totally unable to do it. And then ideally I'd be exercising afterwards more, because I kind of have the momentum. And so usually there's like a couple days on either side of these events that people know I like these kind of events. So usually it's like there's quite a few days of a week where I'll be like pretty active, to where I'm more active than usual, and my calories, what I'm burning is probably evening out more of what I'm eating, as far as like trying to keep to that 1500 calories or so. But I don't really count calories that much. I'm kind of counting other stuff, but I might get back to counting calories. But I kind of decided on this weekend that I was like, let me start counting what I've been eating as far as sodium. And I was like a little bit shocked. So I was like trying to calculate what I'm intaking, as far as things like supplements that might be like caffeine, cannabinoids, melatonin, stuff like that. And then I put sodium on the list. And the sodium goal, like they said in the article, 1500 to 2300 calories. Now, I've often been on here complaining about my sleep. I that's something that has been so hard for me to manage and figure out. And I've always just thought, okay, when I go to the gym, my sleep is better. I've definitely noticed that. And it's almost like every day that I do go to the gym, the next day my sleep is better. But I've never really been able, or that night. So like the day that I go to the gym, that the night that I go to sleep on that same day, my sleep is usually better. But I've only been able to decide that. But I start reading this article, and I'm like, wow, like I can't read it to you right now because it's I can't even like read it. Um but basically the parts that stuck out to me were about sleep. And again, I'm not a doctor, but it was saying there's signs of salt deficiency and signs of salt overload. So basically if you're having more salt, like they're saying that the average American is getting probably 3,400 milligrams when you're supposed to be getting 1,500 to 2,300 milligrams, which is way lower. That's way lower. Like way more than like half of what people are already intaking. And I was like, I don't know how much I'm intaking of sodium because I'm not really counting it. Um, so there's things like, signs of salt deficiency, like sweating, muscle cramps. I think this says non-restorative sleep, low REM sleep, and or insomnia. And I'm like, have I had that? Yeah, there are some days I've had that. I remember there was I think both times when I had COVID, the first thing I did realize, because I was at Comic Con one December in LA not that long ago, and then I was at San Diego Pride the summer before that, December. And I got COVID, and the first thing I remember when I look back is like I was really sweaty those days, like strangely sweaty, like sweatier than normal. And because I remember after Comic Con, I went to do one of those like apartment tour gigs, and I remember being inside, and I was like, "Why am I so sweaty?" Like it wasn't that hot. It was December. It wasn't that hot, and I was indoors. We were in air conditioned environment. I was like, maybe I'm nervous, but I didn't really feel that nervous. But I was strangely sweaty, and then tested positive for COVID. And then the other time I was at San Diego Pride, the first time I got it, and I was incredibly sweaty. I remember I was drinking one of those Pedialyte drinks. It was like a Gatorade or something. I'd gotten some snacks for a house party, dropped off the snacks because like it was late because I couldn't find parking or whatever. But I have a bag from like let's say CVS or something, and I brought like pretzels or some random chips or something. And then I remember I was like, man, I need to hydrate, and I got like Pedialyte from there, and I was like drinking it while I was like walking around. Now it was hot because it was July, but and it was in San Diego, but still I was sweating like an abnormal amount. And I just met with some friends at the parade and stuff, and stayed for maybe that day was maybe I was out maybe 2 to 4 hours total. It wasn't even like the whole day. It was probably even less than 4 hours. But I was definitely hydrating, but it was like, I don't want to need the bathroom, so let me not hydrate too much. But I remember needing the bathroom while I was parking. I remember drinking the Pedialyte while I was at the parade. I remember getting another beverage while I was gonna go catch an Uber to leave the parade to get back to my car. I had to Uber back to my. I had to park on another side of town and then Uber to and from because the parking was so bad. Um, and then I remember just having a lot of fluids, and I was like, I'm having a lot of fluids. Why am I sweating like this? But then like yeah, I tested positive for COVID, and then signs of salt over. And I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I do remember those 2 days specifically when I was like abnormally sweating. Um, and I have had days where I was sweaty more than what would be normal for me, but I've never really checked like salt or sodium. And they have signs of salt overload, which is bloating, thirst, swollen hands, feet, and or face, headaches, um, fragmented sleep. I don't know if it says more REM sleep and or vivid dreams or nightmares. I don't know if that what that word is before REM sleep. I don't know if it says more REM sleep and or vivid dreams or nightmares. And I'm like, that sounds like me. That totally sounds like me. I get random headaches. They're not always terrible, but I do sometimes get them. My sleep is definitely fragmented. I don't know how I would describe my REM, my REM sleep. Um, but yeah, vivid dreams, nightmares, weird dreams. Thirst, I don't really know. I've never really noticed like hands or feet or anything swelling. Bloating, I would say, because I track my weight every week, and I have been for like over a year now, a year and like 15 weeks or whatever that number was that I said earlier. I have been tracking it. And so I'm like, I do notice that I do have like some weight gain, some weight, not gain, but like bloating. Because I have the same clothes all the time. So I do notice when I have bloating. You know, when I'm kind of like, I feel like my clothes feel tight, like, or how I look in certain t shirts, or the sweatiness. Because I've been even noticing sometimes with deodorants, I'm like, why aren't these deodorants working? You know what I mean? Like, it was like, I'm like abnormally sweaty sometimes. But then also, like, I had those like hormones that the doctors kind of put me on, and that kind of like freaking, I don't know. I opted into it without doing enough research, and also the questions I asked the doctors, they did not fully educate me on it as much as maybe I could have been educated on it from their perspectives. So going into it, I thought I was making an informed enough decision because they recommended it for me, and I said yes based on what they said. But then when I started getting a bunch of side effects and problems, when I looked into it more, I was like, this is coming from these hormones. And I, did stop, but then I didn't find many improvements until I started having this ginger and dandelion tea from Ancient Healing. There's this website, Ancient Healing Teas. Now, I'm not giving any kind of medical advice. I'm just talking about my experiences. And the reason why I'm mentioning all this is because I was like, let me put this into my schedule because this is going to be something important to track my sodium levels because it might be something that is affecting me. Now, Saturday night, I was kind of craving eating, I was craving eating some, I kind of wanted McDonald's. I was like, I really feel like a burger. I feel like a burger and fries, or like chicken nuggets and fries. And I was like, that's a terrible idea. I don't want to spend like $10, $12 on like that nasty food that I'm going to be sick the next day. I won't be able to go to the gym Sunday if I eat that Saturday night. But Saturday from probably about noon or 1 p.m. until freaking I don't know what time. Till maybe 4:30, 4:50 or something. I think I put some food in the oven at that time. But let me go through what I ate on Saturday, because Saturday is technically a cheat day for me. So I had only 1 cup of green tea. I didn't have a lot of green tea. It wasn't brewed very strong. I didn't have a lot of caffeine. 1 cup of green tea. So you would think that that shouldn't be an issue, right? You would think. Um, and like remember how I talked about having all those mood swings. I had a bunch of mood swings. Um, Let me see. I had a bunch of mood swings. So um, I gotta change this number. I wrote something wrong. All right. I'm gonna go through what I ate. Um, because remember, this is when the fast is supposed to start. Because Friday night of Ramadan, when the sun goes down, you can still technically be eating up until Saturday. This Saturday, it would have been, especially for this year. I'm talking about this year. It would have been Saturday when the sun comes up. Stop eating until the sun goes down. And so I was just seeing what I can push that day. So I ate basically at, like I said, like somewhere around 6:20 a.m. I was eating breakfast. Somewhere around 11 o'clock I had a snack, which was a fig bar. Somewhere around 1 or 1 p.m. or so, like 1 p.m. or so, I had lunch, which was instant ramen. Did I not put that? Oh, I did. And then around dinner, because I wanted like fast food, but I was like, well, let me just make something that's like fast food. So we have these. It's like orange chicken. You're supposed to like. It's almost like karaage chicken, like almost like a Japanese style karaage chicken, but it's not that. It's basically these little deep fried chicken. They're chicken nuggets basically. Let's call them chicken nuggets. They're not exactly chicken nuggets, but you're supposed to put the orange chicken sauce on it once you bake them. They're freezer instant like freezer stuff, and it's like you oven bake it. And then I had these like curly fries that were seasoned that you oven bake. So I was like, I can make these because it's like chicken and fries. That's the closest thing to mimic chicken nuggets and fries. Let me read you guys the sodium levels on these things. And I did not even know this when I was eating it, but I had some eggs that morning for breakfast. I can't remember what else I had. I had eggs and fruit. I don't think I had fruit that morning. I had eggs. I had something else with the eggs. I think I didn't have any carbs. I remember that specifically. I had eggs and something else. It must have been eggs and fruit. I really don't remember what I had. But I had eggs. I had some salt sprinkled on the eggs. That fig bar that I had, which is it was an organic fig bar. I had 75 milligrams per bar. The fries that let me do it in order. The ramen that I had one and a half packs of ramen with more than one. It was like one and some pack of the chicken seasoning that goes on like, I think it was the Maruchan brand instant ramen. I don't know if it's Maruchan or Top Ramen. One of those two. Either one. They're not good for you, but I never really looked at the sodium. I knew they're high sodium. One pack of that stuff has 1,520 milligrams of sodium. I had one and a half packs. So I don't even know what that math is, but that's already over the daily. Even one pack is over the daily recommendation. It's over the lower end of the range of 1,500. We've already gone over that. Having one and a half packs. And then also I had fries and chicken tenders. So those chicken tenders for 5 ounces, it's about 800, sorry, for 5 ounces, it's about 580 milligrams of sodium. And with the fries, for 1.5 cups, it's about 430 milligrams of sodium. So if you consider what I had for lunch, that's probably where my mood went. It just killed my mood. I got super moody. I was moody. I was like irritable, moody, just like I was just feeling really bad. And I just thought it was because I needed more to do, that I'm sitting here trying to read these like Quran texts and like sitting here trying to like meditate and relax and stuff. And I'm like, I just want to go on like YouTube, or, I just want to like watch some other kind of like content that's like not so dull and boring. Like I want to go out and like do something, but I was like, no, I'm gonna sit here and like relax and stay home. And I thought that's why my mood was all like out of whack. I think it was because of the instant ramen. I'm pretty sure. And then it wasn't really satiating. I wasn't feeling that great. I was feeling, just like I said, like moody, bad, just irritable. And then for dinner, I had those chicken tenders, the fries, and then I had these. I went to bed. I took melatonin at like 8 p.m. at night because I was like, I just want this day to be over. Like, let me just take the melatonin early, go to bed. So I started falling asleep early. I think I woke up a little bit at like 11 p.m. And then I remember waking up around 1:30 a.m. And I don't remember if I had any dreams by that point, but I'll talk a little bit about my dreams too. But I was up from like 1:30, 1:40 something. Did I say p.m.? I mean a.m. Until like 5:30 in the morning or something like that, right? So that's a long time to be awake. After taking melatonin, I think I took like 10 milligrams of melatonin. Um, so yeah. So I had these dreams. One was at like 5:30 in the morning. One was at like 6 in the morning, and they were both really distressing dreams. You know, um, one of them, I was kind of like aware that I had gone to sleep after 5 a.m., but in this dream, it was 5:30. It was like I was no, I was aware that I had gone to sleep around 5:30 a.m., but in this dream it was like 5:05 a.m. I was like half awake. I feel like I was like half awake, and I was basically in the dream being woken up by someone knocking on my door, being super like chipper and happy, and in the dream I was irritable. I was not feeling good. I was like kind of like, why are you waking me up? Like, go away. Like, why are you even up? Like, because in my dream I remembered being up at like 1:45 or 1:40 something a.m. because I'd gotten up at that time, gone to the bathroom, and I remember like the house lights indoors were on, so someone else was already up, and so I knew someone else was still up. But in this dream, it was reality, but it actually wasn't reality. I was dreaming at like 5:30 in the morning. I'm dreaming that somebody's trying to wake me up, and they're like playing some music or like a game on their phone, and I can hear it like through my door, and then they kind of left some like cannabis container empty cannabis products at my door, and a receipt from like a dispensary or something. And in the dream I'm thinking like this can't be real, because like these containers aren't usually this big, and I hadn't had any of those in a while, and I definitely thrown them out. So I'm like, how did this person get these things? How did they get this? And I remember like when I was trying to move in the dream, I was kind of having like sleep paralysis. And in the dream, I was kind of like, is this even real? Like, because this doesn't sound accurate that this person would be up at like 5 in the morning. And I knew it was after 5 in the morning. So I was like, why is it? Because when I started waking up, it was lighter than it was in the dream. It was lighter out the window than it was in the dream. In the dream, it was still kind of dark outside. And so I was like, this doesn't match up with the time of day. And so I kind of knew, maybe I'm like, this doesn't seem right, but I was kind of having this weird, like, kind of sleep paralysis ish kind of issue. And I was like, I can't really move right. I can't really move properly. Um, but I was like, I can't tell if this is right or incorrect. And so let me record this. Let me put a video recording on my phone of this experience, because this doesn't feel right. So in the dream, I'm like, let me take video footage of what I'm seeing and hearing of these like products and receipt that was left at my door, and let me look through my window, my bedroom window, across the patio where I can see like another bedroom, because I can tell if somebody else's lights are on if I'm like looking out my window. And this is all in the dream. And then I like during the dream, like my curtains kind of fall down, because I've got this curtain over my blinds on that side, because sometimes in real life, the patio lights will be on and stuff, and it just, I don't like the lights. So I put like a blackout curtain over that, over those, blinds. But the blinds on the other side of my room don't have a blackout curtain. They're just like Venetian blinds. So it's like even when they're shut, there's still somewhat light coming through, which probably does affect my sleep. But I like the natural light. Um, I do like it, so but usually when I do wake up too early, I will shut the blinds. I'll close the blinds, um, because I'm like, I know it's gonna start getting light, and I do sleep with my blinds open a lot. Most times, I actually sleep with my blinds open, unless I know that there's gonna be people walking around outside early morning or something. But yeah, it just felt super weird. That dream felt super weird. So I wake up. It's like 6 a.m. I wake up, write down this dream. Um, and then I go back to sleep from like around 6:30 a.m. to maybe 8:04 a.m. And I'm listening to, like, as I sleep, I'm listening to Eli the computer guy. I like his videos, but he does these like really in-depth techie tutorials, and so sometimes I'm like, if I really need to sleep, I'll listen to that, because I'm like, you feel like you're learning, but it's so dense that it's like, it's interesting enough that I can tune in, but also I can tune out. And so I go back to sleep. Now this is morning. It's already light outside by this point, and I'm just like, I don't really need to eat breakfast till like around 8 something. So let me try to get like a couple more hours of sleep in. And while I was awake, I had ordered these like V8 energy drinks. Like while I was awake at like up until like 5:30 a.m. So around 4 a.m. I ordered these drinks because I'm like, well, I do want to go to the gym on Sunday, but I don't want to get up, have to get dressed, go over to the store to like get these energy drinks, then come home, have the drinks, wait for it to settle. It's gonna, maybe throw off my day. So I was like, let me just order them so that I have them first thing in the morning. And so I like the drinks get delivered to the door. I pick them up, put one next to my bedside, go back to sleep at like I was probably sleeping around 6:30 a.m. to like 8:04 a.m. or so. That's what I wrote down. I'm listening to this Eli the computer guy to fall asleep. I fall asleep pretty quickly after I write down this dream. And I have this other dream that's like kind of negative where basically like I'm on this I'm visiting somebody's house with my brother, but the person whose house I'm visiting is that bad boss that I last had, and him and his family are being like rude and ignoring me, and like they're like they decide they want to play this game where you all connect your phones to the TV and you have to use TikTok or Instagram, but I'm like, guys, I'm not on TikTok or Instagram, and so they have me in the middle playing this game, but then like every time everyone else is getting points and it comes around to me and I'm just like not getting any points because I don't even have the apps, and I'm like, guys, I'm trying to explain to you that I'm not like into this stuff anymore, like I'm not really like engaging with these types of apps anymore, and they were kind of just like writing me off and just like ignoring me and just being like, oh well, you're just not going to get the point for this round, and it kept going like multiple rounds like that. Then I go trying to look for my brother because I'm like, screw this, I don't even want to be here. So I'm like, well, I'll just like go outside. And in the dream my phone was on like maybe 1% or so, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go outside, and either look for my brother and just see if we can leave because he wasn't even in there. It was just me and all these rude people. And then I'm like, I can't find the car, I can't find my brother, and I'm like, man. So I look different directions, can't find my car, eventually find the car. I get into the car, I start charging my phone. I'm debating because I have to call this friend of mine, but I'm like, in real life, I have to call this friend of mine because in this dream, it was the day that I was gonna call him. And I get thinking, am I gonna call this friend and just wait for my brother? But my brother doesn't really get texting, so how am I gonna get in touch? Or can I just like leave some extra money or something with this family and just you know let my brother Uber home? But I was just like, I don't want to leave my brother here, but I don't know where he went, and I don't know how to get in touch with him, and I don't want to sit around with these people. So I'm kind of just like not enjoying the conversation. Um, but um, I basically I woke up after that, but it was kind of a distressing dream. I know it doesn't sound super distressing, but it wasn't restful or pleasant. And so that was kind of where when I woke up, I was like, I went back on Sunday morning and tracked, like I said, all the sodium that I'd had the night before. And I was like, okay, this might add up because it adds up with the mood swings and how I was feeling all irritable in the afternoon when I ate all that extra salty food. And then it adds up that I was up like an extra like 4 hours in the middle of the night after I fell asleep quite well. I woke up for like 4 hours, couldn't go back to sleep, was kind of wide awake. And then, having these distressing dreams, one at like 5:30 in the morning, one at like 6:30 in the morning, you know, and not being able to sleep well. But then I went to the gym. I got up, went, I did a lot of financial planning, went to the gym, felt a lot better. And last night basically I went to the steam room at the gym after a pretty decent workout, and then yeah, I took it easy on the salt. Now I need this morning to calculate the sodium intake for yesterday, but I was writing down what I ate. I just need to calculate it like I did the day before, but I'm pretty sure I'm nowhere near that amount of sodium that I'd had on Saturday. Sunday it was a lot more controlled, and I was making a little more conscious decisions around it. I don't think my cheat days need to add sodium or add those kinds of foods because it messes me up so much during the same day, like right after the meals, enough that it's like I'm not even feeling good and I don't feel satiated. Like that kind of food doesn't ever make me feel like good. I don't feel full. I don't feel, well, I might feel full, but I don't feel like okay, this food gave me energy and I'm ready to kind of like be productive. It makes me feel like I got to take a nap because I feel bad. And that kind of stuff is like really not good for me anyways, but just thinking about it, I'm like, man, cuz I probably eat instant ramen maybe once every other week, maybe once a week. Usually I don't eat a pack and a half, but I ate that much because I was like I hardly had any carbs today. So maybe that's why I'm feeling all like off, cuz I thought it would like improve something for me, but it didn't. And it messed up my sleep and it potentially could have messed up my whole next day, but I was able to get things on track on Sunday. But you know, the dreams were crazy. But then last night, Sunday night, I had a pretty pleasant dream. I went to sleep kind of listening to, well, it wasn't pleasant. It was weird. But I went to sleep listening to these Quran texts. And in the dream, there was somebody who, like, was trying to preach at me and some friends or some people I was with. And they were just like, they kept going on and on, like, quoting the Quran. And, like, we were just like, okay, like, will you stop? And we're trying to like get away from this person because they were just like over and over just like reciting all the stuff that the Quran says, but it was basically because I was listening to it on my phone in the background. um, but um, so yeah, and I had some really good conversations about like some biblical topics, some apocrypha topics, history of the Bible canon, that kind of stuff. I took me yesterday like 2 hours to do some of my financial planning, which I didn't even get to finish, unfortunately, but I did as much as I could. And then as far as the Quran, I kind of caught up at least as much as I can catch up. Now I'm going to talk about some of how far I got, but then if I do, I'm trying to see if I can get through the Quran during this month of Ramadan for the 30-day period. I don't really know if I'm going to do it. If I actually do it, I probably won't say that I finished it, um, but I'm going to try. I calculated that I could read about 20 pages a day because it's 600 pages. I could read 20 pages a day and finish it in 30 days. And I guess where I'm at right now, if I calculate based on what I was listening to, I've listened to the first surah, I listened to Baqarah and Al Imran. Right now, I'm just passing on Nisa 4, 4, 4 162. So I'm starting on Nisa 4 163. To me, the thing about the Quran that is kind of like the repetition of like the topic of like we're telling you this and it's the truth, and if you don't listen to this, then things aren't going to work out well for you because this is the truth and you're deciding not to listen to it, so you might end up not making it to heaven or something like that. That to me, I mean, I know that's how it's written, but it's like that to me, I think last time was what turned me off to it, was just that, how just like repetitive it is with saying that over and over and over. And it's like, okay, like we know, like, and I'm not trying to be like negative about it. I'm just saying, like, to me, it's like not pleasant to hear that over and over. It's like, I like the stories and stuff. I don't really like a whole like try to convince me, try to coerce me or like pressure me into like believing this or else. To me, that is kind of like, I'd rather read. I mean, I guess that's why the Bible has a little more of an appeal to me, is with like the depth of the stories of like in Genesis of like create the creation story and like Cain and Abel and Noah and like these different stories. I kind of like that, and I know the Quran has stories, but I guess that's the hardest part for me with the beginning, or a lot of the parts where it just starts going into that theme of like, you're not listening and we're telling you that this is the truth and this was sent from God, but you're being stubborn and you're not listening, and you're going to find ways to say that this isn't true, and we're telling you every method that you could possibly think of why this is truth, but you're not listening. And it's like, but it's kind of like, to me it's like, I don't know, I kind of want like stories and like stuff like that, and not that message. But I do remember last time when I was looking at a lot of the passages, it did have a lot of that in there. And for me, as someone who's not a Muslim, it's kind of like, I don't know. Like, if I'm just giving my opinion, to me, that's not something I want to hear. Because it's just so, and it's so repetitive. It's like, it's not like it's just once. It's just like, there's like page after page of just like talking about like, we told you, and like, this is why it's true for this reason and that reason and this reason and that reason. And it's like, I know it's not all, the Quran isn't all like that, but it's just, it reads different than the Bible. It's not the Bible. It reads different, but to me, it's just, that to me is the hard part. Is like, it just. I don't like people talking to me like that. I like having open-minded discussions, but I've never really liked having conversations where people are like, "I'm right and you're wrong," you know, and you feel like they're just like invalidating you and not really listening. That's kind of how it feels, and I know that's just my opinion as an outside person. That's my opinion of like what's making it hard for me to get through, is just like, oh, like, here we go again with this. And it's so repetitive saying that so much. It's like I wish it wasn't like that so much, that it was just always saying that kind of thing. But I do think I'll be able to read more. And so I'm basically hitting the time period now of when I was going to switch up what I'm going to do for the rest of my morning. So I'm going to post this and then get on with my next plans. But I think that's pretty much all I had to say of some of the stuff I figured out. I'm going to track my sodium from yesterday because I wrote down what I ate. I need to kind of meal prep for today, for when I'm out of the house, for what I'm going to be eating when I'm out. And then, yeah, I need to meal prep. So I'm going to be doing some of that. And then, yeah, then I should be kind of good to go. But today's already feeling better. I woke up feeling great. I still feel fine. Yesterday I felt as good as I could feel, but I did feel decently well, considering that I didn't sleep that good at all. Um, Saturday was rocky, but I think I figured it out. I think the sodium thing is really what's impacting my irritability levels and my sleep problems. I think I really need to pay attention to that. I thought it was my blood sugar levels and my lack of sleep. I was thinking, oh, maybe I'm just not eating on time or snacking enough, and that's why I get irritable, and then that's why, you know, I'm kind of like irritated sometimes. Because I notice it happens when I'm like cooking, usually I'm like feeling kind of irritable. But I guess yesterday I did like okay. As far as like what I cooked, I had I did okay, not perfect. But I did have my iron supplement. I had 5 milligrams of melatonin at 8 p.m. and I slept better than I slept when I even had 10 milligrams the night before. I had probably about 120 milligrams of that V8 beverage, which is each each V8 has 80 milligrams of sodium in it. I did have a little bit of sativa like in the evening or late afternoon. I sprinkled some salt on my eggs. I did cook some vegetables. I put a little bit of salt and some Irish butter in there. I'm just talking about the stuff that I put um, salt on, or that had salt or something. I baked some chicken. I used a little bit of vegetable oil. I actually wanted to try coconut oil, but I don't know how that bakes. And I didn't want to ruin like a whole batch of chicken, like if it wasn't gonna turn out well. I sprinkled a little bit of salt and some poultry seasoning. I don't know how much, but I'm gonna have to try to calculate the salt that I'm putting on things. So I'm gonna try to learn about that today and tomorrow. I had some oat milk that I soaked some plain oats in. Usually with my oats, I put oat milk, a little bit of protein powder, and cinnamon. I don't usually put anything else unless it's like fruits. I had these cranberries, those little craisins, so those probably have salt in them. I already talked about the V8 energy drink cans. I had 13 chips of a certain brand of chips that I think every 8 chips you have, it's like, I want to say it's like 190 milligrams of sodium. I had some bean dip with that. That was my dinner, chips and bean dip. A couple of like Ritz crackers and stuff. Um, I had like four spoonfuls of the bean dip. I think 2 tablespoons is 100, under 200 milligrams. So I probably had like a little under 400 milligrams there. And then the Ritz crackers pack, they have this family size pack, but they're like smaller packs. I don't know the sodium on those, but I need to check. I also had a little, oh, I forgot one thing. I had a little hummus container, a small, like one of those small individual ones. I had a protein shake. I had 1 scoop of protein shake, the plant-based Orgain chocolate version. Um, so however much sodium's in that, I think it's pretty low sodium. I don't remember it, but I checked. So I'm gonna calculate these up. But yeah, I still have the leftover chicken and veggies from yesterday that I'll probably be able to eat. I've still got some leftover oats that I'll eat for breakfast. I'll have some eggs for breakfast too, and I'm gonna make some extra oats to take with me for when I'm driving around town. That's probably what I'll have for lunch is soaked oats, and I'll be able to come back to some chicken and veggies. And I'm hoping to go to the gym, and I'll probably have a protein shake, so that'll probably be my food for today, and then this energy drink. So I should be good. But I'll calculate this out, and then I'll know better like what I need to adjust. I don't. I ate okay. I'd say yesterday was okay. I had some plant-based stuff, maybe high on the carbs with the crackers and the chips and the oats, but it wasn't that bad. The crackers are like home, not the crackers are processed. The chips are like a kind of like a homemade brand of chips. I didn't make them, but somebody else kind of makes them. They're kind of like a better chip. They're not like a classic like Ruffles or something like that. Like they're like a healthier ish chip. The bean dip is not healthy. It's like that Frito Lay's type of dip. Um, so definitely processed. The protein shake is yeah, it's vegetable based. Um, the iron is just straight up. It's a vegan iron pill. Um, and yeah, oats. I mean, they're rolled. they're rolled old-fashioned oats, and I'm not even cooking them. And like I said, I'm not like putting anything in them, so they're kind of raw, soaked. The oat milk, I don't know much about it, but it's an organic oat milk. So it's like I'm trying to step it up, guys. I'm not gonna be perfect yet, but I mean that's good. That's okay. That's like okay, right? It's like okay. Yesterday was okay. It was far better than Saturday. Saturday was a mess. Sunday was like I did I think the basics got taken care of, and then tomorrow yeah, Saturday was okay. Saturday was bad. Sunday was okay, but a really good day overall. And then Monday today, I'm hoping it'll be good. I'm hoping to read more Quran today. I'm hoping to um, get some. I gotta call a temp agency later, um, and some other sites that open at like 8 a.m. I need to call them, so I need to get off of here, and then I'm gonna eat breakfast probably around 8:30. Probably just eggs, avocados, maybe some oats. Maybe I'll have a bagel and then I'll have the oats for lunch or something. I don't know, but I'm gonna be tracking like the sodium and stuff, and seeing if things are kind of okay. But I'm okay with it. I think I've found a little bit of a solution. Like I said, I'm not really fully doing the fast exactly, but I'm like, well, let me at the very least track what I'm eating and try to like adjust what I'm eating. That's the least I can do right now. So I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to just like track what I'm eating. Um, but like I'm 9 minutes over what I said. But I hope this is helpful for people. Again, I'm not a medical person, so I can't give medical advice. But I mean, it took me this long, over a year, to get any kind of insight into. Well, not no insight. I've been tracking all this stuff, but it took me over a year to kind of pinpoint the sodium aspect of things. And so I'm hoping that's at least helpful to some people because I'm like, nobody's mentioned it to me. I just found it by chance by just like reading a little bit here, reading a little bit there, and it just poked out right at me. I was like, this is the exact issue I'm having, like with these sleep problems, and it doesn't add up. And the only thing I was able to figure out is when I go to the gym, my sleep is better. But like we know, I wasn't going to the gym all this time up until I've only had my third day at the gym yesterday, the third day this year, and last week I had 2 days at the gym. And so I only barely started at the gym at the very end of February. So I haven't really done a lot yet. I've only really figured out like a couple days. Um, but I'm hoping that this fasting period at least kind of helps me spend more energy into this kind of thing. Um, I don't know if I'm really at a place, I don't know where my health is. So I'm scared to be like fasting because how my mood's all over the place and everything. If I do fasting with this style of Ramadan fasting, I'm gonna have to figure out what I need to eat first because if I'm eating the wrong things, I'm not gonna be able to sustain myself for like a whole daytime period and actually function and get work done and work and do stuff like that and exercise if I'm eating too much salt or not sleeping and waking up for like 4 hours every night or whatever, or having these crazy dreams. But I think I've kind of figured it out. Maybe the dreams might not go away, but at least I'm not gonna be having like as crazy of dreams, hopefully. And last night I slept fine. I woke up like twice a little bit, and once was to turn off this Quran thing, and then another time I woke up to go to the bathroom, and I went right back to sleep both times easily. And I woke up at like when I looked at my phone this morning, it was 5:18 a.m. I woke up a few minutes before 5:18, and I've been up since, and it's 7:42 right now. So um, things are going well. So I appreciate you guys listening. Hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully you like this recording, and um, yeah, um, that's kind of my insights into things so far. I'm gonna see where things go, and hopefully gain some more insights, or at least get into a routine that I can sustain, so that I'm not having all these like off days every week, multiple off days, because I can't function if I'm not sleeping. And I think I might have been able to at least figure out something with the sleep, so I'm happy about that. But thanks for listening.